Hello and welcome once again to Ice Hockey on Eurosport. One or two technical problems, but we're with you now. The action, Russia against Finland. Paul Ferguson here with Richard Beaupre, and we're looking forward to this one. Action on day 3. The Finns picking up a victory on day 1, as did the Russians, and this is the way the Group B standings look. The Canadians, the Americans, the Swedes, Slovaks, France, and Italy, but all that could change over the next few days as they play each other on one occasion. And then we go out to the final top 4 of each group. That's A and B. We take a look now at the Finnish lineup. Jukka Tami, Hannu Virta, Kiprusoff, Mikko Makela, Raimo Helminen. All these guys are playing some good hockey out there. A lot of talented Finnish players. Stromberg is doing well on the D. Esa Keskinen is really playing hard. Mika Nieminen. Jutala is always strong, number 5. Koivu, this guy is explosive, number 11 for the Finns. Mylish put in a fine performance last time. We'll see who they start this time. Ojanen spent a few games in the NHL. He also is explosive. They got a lot of fiery characters out there. Good stick handlers, puck carriers, great shots.
The most impressive thing about the Finnish side in their first game was their discipline. They didn't break down. They really held their game together. It'll be a real challenge as they come out against a strong Russian team. Zuyev, the starting goaltender in the first game, is a very steady performer most of the time. You never know if you can catch him on the off night. The Finns will be testing him. Vinogradov, a young forward who's doing a good job so far. Nikolitin, a guy who the NHL are expecting to be in the NHL within the next 6 or 7 months. Ivanov, Shendelev, they've got some big defensemen who are very mobile. Karpov's a clever little forward, number 14. Keep your eyes on him. Varitsky's a good goal scorer.
I kind of like the way Tarasenko has been playing. This guy has been moving the puck around nicely. Torgeyev is another guy who's not afraid to get stuck into the corners, and that's what the Russians need right now. Some guys who can work hard in the corners. They don't have the pretty Pavel Bures and Kamenskys and Makarovs out there. It's kind of a bump and grind team. It's not a team of stars, flashy individuals. These guys are starting to find their own personalities, and they're starting to work as a team. Well, today they were working, the Finns were working, and things were not pleasant out there in their 45-minute session.
That's right. Coach Tikhonov was in a bad mood this morning during the early morning practice. He tried a motion drill. The team messed it up 3 times in a row. He pulled the whole team into center ice and started yelling and screaming, picking out one player in particular. We couldn't actually tell who that player was because they don't have numbers on their practice jerseys. It's probably good for him that we're not publicizing it. He got a real reaming from the coach. Then the Finns came out onto the ice. For 45 minutes, they had violins and concerto, classical music being blasted over the loudspeakers at them. It was a very serene, calm, collected, loose practice, smiles on their face. 2 totally different camps. It'll be interesting to see how these 2 teams start. The Russians and the Swedes were the favorites coming into the Olympic Games. The Finns and the Canadians have taken over as the talk of the town. The Finns with a great performance, as we've said, in their first game, and the Canadians are off and flying as well.
Jukka Tami, number 30, gets the starting nod from Coach Kurt Lindstrom. And Zuyev is the goaltender for the Russian side. This guy, I like him.
It's funny, the tactics with the coaches, because Tikhonov, going with Zuyev, is saying, I am out to win each and every game, and I'm going with my strongest players. That's it. Whereas the Finnish coaching staff had Mylish in the goal during their first game. He played very well. Now they're going with Tami. They obviously feel comfortable into getting to the second round. So in the build-up to that, they're going to use more players and make sure that everybody is ready to play hockey.
The Finns will be playing from right to left. The Canadian referee has called them to center ice, and we're set for this one. Helminen going up against Kudakov. Kudakov drops that back, and Sorokin throws it up to the blue line, and this one is well and truly underway. We brought you a couple of other games today, but this is the one that everybody's been waiting for. A tap along the boards, and Helminen sets it free. Kapanen is there. And the Russians will know that they're in a game when they play the Finns. The Finns are a stylish outfit, not afraid to hit. Kuzmanov brought down as he threw it into the corner. That comes all the way out to number 4, Sorokin. Big shot, and Sorokin really has got a boomer of a shot. Reminds me a lot of Kenneth Kenholt, who's not playing with the Swedes this year because of an injury. But this guy really can let it fly. Both teams going for a quick change out there in the early stages as that one trickles down the ice, and we have the first whistle, and that should get the jitters out of some of the players' system.
Local journalists all have their own opinion, but the local newspapers coming out every morning are saying that the Finns play a very physical game. They expect them to continue doing that. The press feel that the Russians aren't quite as aggressive as they have been in the past couple of World Championship games and in the '92 Olympics. They are very mobile, and they're not afraid to throw their weight around. If they take their notes on it, I'm sure that we'll see them hitting more as well. They'll do what they have to do.
Alatalo goes in quickly, and the Russians now struggling in their own zone. Jutila tried to keep it in, he couldn't, and the Russians coming out with Nikilishin and that chin guard that he's got, a big white chin guard. Tartishin throws it up on the boards, a big chop there, but Alatalo working with Peltonen. Peltonen doing the wraparound, and somehow Peltonen was stopped right on the post by Zuyev. A big slash there, only sends it down to Nikolaishin's stick. Stopped right on the red line by Koivu. This guy can move, but he's not going to go through 4 Russians, that's for sure. Bezukladinov dumps that to the far side. Shendelev decides to backtrack. Shendelev, a good heads-up hockey player, gets the pass up on the left wing. That wasn't a good effort from the Russians. Zuyev gets the first save of the game, or first stoppage from him. He'll touch the puck, get a little feel in the glove, and say, oh, this is how it feels, I'm ready.
That's exactly right. Early on into the game, the goalies like to have a touch. It gets them going. Close call there for Zuyev. 16 Peltonen with a quick wraparound as he came around the net. Not the easiest thing to do to get a step on these Russian defensemen. I mentioned it before, the likes of Tertishny and Sorokin are big, but they're very mobile.
Oyanin got the draw, and that came all the way back onto Sormanen's stick. Going over to the far side is Verta to take on Varitsky. Working hard over there, the Russians with the backhanded shot. Varitsky bobbing and weaving out there, unable to get power on that, along with Karpov. Karpov almost opening his account with the Russians. Whistle on the play. Karpov, number 3 draft choice for Anaheim. Could he be a mighty Duck?
He very well could be. He might be joining Paul Correa from the Canadian team over there right after the Olympic Games. It's hard to say right now.
It would appear that both teams have settled into this one. Kapanen taken out of the play on the far side, but Helmanen moved in quickly. A chance for Makala. Makala working with 24 Kapanen all the way back to the blue and out over the line, and the Russians trying to get it out with Tarasenko unable to do so. Helmanen back at his own blue. Helmanen looking for places to go, feeds it through nicely, and both teams getting the clearance into the zone and then going for a change whenever they can. Helmanen got the stick out to bat it down, but the Russians at the second attempt pick it up and move it down the ice. Guzmanov unable to set himself free. Jutila fires it around. Guzmanov again unable to trap it. Kapanen takes the shot. That was always going to be stopped. Sorokin got a piece of it. Put it in the corner. Alatalo, another guy that I like a lot, is destined to go to the NHL. Back to Hamalainen. Hamalainen, a lazy bouncing shot, almost got through the crowd of players out there. Smirnov testing Yukotami from a distance. And the Russians and the Finns coming out with all cylinders firing in this first period. This is live on Eurosport. Tammy gloves it down and leaves it there for Jutila. That's pushed over now for Nieminen. Nieminen, a great playmaker, puts it up on the wing. Keskinen to the far side. Alatalo goes into the boards heavily. Smirnov elects to get it out into neutral ice territory. A long time now without a whistle as Sorokin slows it down. Changing on the fly, both teams get into the thick of the action. Berezin, Laukkanen collide, and Koivu moves up. Watch this guy motor, 5'9". Koivu coming up now, still with Koivu, trying to stick handle through a herd of players out there. Laukkanen, the big defenseman, brings it up. Can't get the shot away. Now it comes in front of the net, and the Russians break with 2 men. Laukkanen gets back on the D as 9, Kudakhov drops it off. And the Russians from the red line pump it all the way in, but Nicolishin at one end and 1 or 2 Finns at the other end really have started this game quickly. Paolo in the corner. Helminen, Pelchinen comes all the way back to Ojanen. Ojanen fires that in the corner, and the Finns continue to apply a little pressure. Vinogradov to the far side. And the Russians with Nicolishin spun around, taking off the play. Oh, great stick handling move now. And the Russians starting to set it up. The clearance comes in. Bezukladnikov, and I have to really put my teeth in when I say that, got the shot away, but some great stick handling from the Russians and from the Finns. Good playmaking, exciting start for both teams. Excellent atmosphere here, Richard. It really is exciting.
Both teams have got good numbers of supporters on hand. The faces are painted, the flags are going. This is an all-important game in the first round. These two teams are both definitely in medal contention.
Shendelev lost it on the boards. Ojanen almost broke with it, and the Russians gather it, tip it back for Kiprusov. Kiprusov pumps it up on the right side. Ojanen for the Finns. Shot comes in, again blocked at the defense. Eptiukin tried to get it away. Palo was there to steer it right back in the zone. Some close checking. Ojanen taken off the puck by Ivanov. And neither team being allowed to move too far out there. Everyone has a man, everyone has a job. Kiprusov fired it to the far side, then heads for the bench. 25 seconds, 30 seconds seems to be the limit out there. Himalainen pushes that away along the boards, and a rink-wide pass. Some good stuff there from 24 Kapanen. Kapanen looking for the return pass. Helminen tried to hang on it and take it through Tarasov, but it didn't work. Boy, this game has started at an incredible pace. No score yet. Torgayev working in quickly. This is the guy we said we liked before the game. He's got the quick start, the good shot.
He's a real grinder, a good team man, kind of guy everybody likes to have on their line. He keeps his legs going all the time. He's not afraid to take a hit, and he'll certainly dish him out. Takes a couple of chops, gets a nice backhander off. That just sifting off the top part of the crossbar. Tammy a bit handcuffed on the play.
Face-off in Finnish territory. Keskinen won the draw. And Nieminen pumps it up to Alatalo on the far side. Alatalo broke in on Tarasov, and the whistle blows. Great speed from both teams as we take a look at this backhander again.
Once again, you see Tammy with a piece of the puck, but not sure where it is. The crossbar was on his side on that particular shot. Torgayev not wasting any time getting it away.
7 minutes gone on the first period. This is live on Eurosport. Paul Ferguson with Richard Beaupre. A technical hitch at the start. We weren't with you. We were here in body, but not in voice, if that makes sense. But the Russians are going up against the Finns in this action from day 3 here at the 1994 Winter Olympics in Lillehammer. And the fans here really have been treated to a feast of hockey. Gusmanov up on the wing, and a chance now for the Russians coming back quickly. Khudakov, Gusmanov in the corner. Gusmanov loses out. Alatalo throws it into the center. Long shot coming in, and Zuyev gloves it down, drops it, and throws it into the corner. Sorokin with a lot of time. Both teams completing their changes again. Khudakov. 8 minutes gone on the period. Peltonen goes after his man. Laukkanen is there now. Laukkanen being tied up by Nicolishin. Some support there from Peltonen, and the diminutive Koivu comes up. Jutala back to Koivu. Koivu tries to get it out front. He does! Tertishny was there to clear it away. A lot of white and blue sweaters were gunning for that goal. Koivu back on the attack, gets it back on the D, circles, breaks up center, and Laukkanen picks it up. Laukkanen throws it right up the middle to Koivu, and that deflects back to the Russians. Khudakov, big chop there on Bezukladnikov, and that goes the distance. Laukkanen will get back in a hurry. On the far side, Verta waits for the pass, but they elect to go up the middle. And some good defensive moves out there from the Russians as they come back quickly. Vinogradov losing out. Kiprusov taps it forward. Oyanin tried to work his way in. He was gloved down. A long pass up the middle. We're not seeing a lot of whistles out there. We are seeing a lot of fast skating. Karpov this time couldn't get it away. Shendelev took the shot. That deflected. Ended up crashing behind the net. Kiprusov can steer it up only as far as the blue line. Ivanov pumped it in. Shendelev sends it right back in behind the Finnish net. Tammy is pushing off the odd check out there. Lehtera, who hasn't seen a lot of action, gives it to Paulo. Lehtera goes in the far corner. He's being shadowed by Tiukov. And the Russians now trying to get it out, but Karpov was stopped in his tracks. A second attempt here, number 11, Tiukin. Pass up the middle. Both teams will take the opportunity to change yet again, and this is fast.
Good fast hockey from both teams. Not a lot of whistles in it. Each team picking the right moment to change, and the bodies are being watched closely. This is good hockey.
Hämäläinen, the key there, Richard, was pick the right moment to change. You really don't want to pick the wrong moment. I know it sounds silly, but if you pick it when the possession is going against you, it could really turn this game again around. Jutala getting it away from Denisov. A chop there from Helmanen sends it over the red line. A lot of pushing and shoving. No one giving anything away out there. Helmanen working hard over the red line, and now Helmanen brings it up on the backhand side. Laukkanen with a chance to shoot, and he does. Zuyev decides to bring a stoppage to the play out there and get a change of players yet again. We take a look at Group A. Germany, after a victory today, are up there. 2 games, 2 wins. Finland, Russia, Czech Republic, Norway, and Austria. I do have a feeling that the top 4 will be those top 4, not necessarily finishing in that order.
Germans, not one of the favorites, have got 2 wins from 2 games. They've got their hard ones left to play, though. They haven't seen the Russians or the Finns yet. That's all coming for them.
Khudakov won the draw for the Russians. Big pass up the middle. The idea was right. Icing is the call. Gusmanov is capable of exploding right on the Reds, and that's what they were gunning for.
It's nice to hear that last round of applause from the crowd as Zuyev covered the puck. They're very much appreciating the level of hockey they're being treated to. These teams are both really flying.
Keskinen coming up to the 11-minute mark. The Finns keep it in. The shot, and it's routine for Andrei Zuyev.
Smirnov, the big defenseman, holding his man out of the way. Zuyev having a clear sight of the puck all the way from the blue line. The goaltenders will handle that kind of shot all day. Face-offs very critical.
Just let me see it, they say. That's all I ask. Again, Keskinen. And again, they lose out. Smirnov fires that up on the wing, and we have another icing call. The Russians looking to get the quick break moving, but they can't. They just can't connect. They tried a couple of times now. Perhaps a change of lines will do it for them. Alexei Khudakov with 1 point in the competition. Excellent at taking the draw.
Just another young Russian forward who's been pulled out of the woodwork somewhere and brought into the national team. They just seem to be able to keep coming up with names.
Just another name who will become a face and something big perhaps in the NHL. It's good for NHL hockey, but it's killing hockey in Russia. That's one of the complaints that veteran coach Viktor Tikhonov has. He says as soon as these guys can skate and put a puck in the net, they're gone. Big bucks attracting them over there, of course, and it really is tough for the Russians to put something together. A shot coming from Peltonen wide of the target, kept in by Lehtera. Alatalo trying, the shot goes down, and Zuyev goes down as that went up eventually.
Koivu doing a lot of work around the front of the goal. He's only 5 feet 9 inches tall, but he's very capable of standing his ground.
How does that guy get his name on his shirt? That's how. Still no score in this one. 11:27 gone from the face-off. Shendelev behind the goal, tapping it up. Nikolitin throws it over, and the Russians not having the better of the play out there. The Finns really have dominated. Taken out of the play is Karpov. Kiprasov throws it up, and 27, Tero Lehtera goes after it. The Russians now looking to get it in the zone. Karpov slams on the brakes in the circle, a 2-on-1 situation. Excellent defensive work for Lehtera.
Good job of getting back into the play. It was a 2-on-1 for a brief second or two, but the pass didn't get over there quick enough as Lehtera got his stick in the play.
Backhander gets that out of the zone and goes all the way down the ice, and 1 or 2 jeers and whistles for the Russians because they've been caught icing the puck on at least 4 occasions in this game, and we're still only in the first period, still only halfway through that first period.
The Swedish coach of the Finnish side, I want to make sure I get that right, Kurt Lindstrom, has made comments that this Finnish team is here to win hockey games and they're going to have a good go at the gold medal. The Russians, normally the team that dominate the play and can control the game, are finding that the Finns are equally as quick as they are, and they play the body as well, and they've just shown a great deal of discipline.
The Russians with 8 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze, and before I get letters and phone calls, of course, the Soviet Union had something to say about that, and so did the unified team, or the united team as they may have been called. Makala throws it back. The Finns have only been able to come up with 1 silver. The shot from Hämäläinen. Jutila backhands in the corner. The fans are loving this. Delayed penalty on the play. Right out front, the shot comes in. Zuyev. Makala got a piece of it. Zuyev way out of the net. Slashing the call. Oh, this could liven things up.
Makala kept his head up in the air for quite a while after the shot went out of play. He had a lot of time. The big guy was camped out in the slot. That shot from the defenseman going through everybody. Look at Zuyev having a chop. 1, there's a push, there's 2 chops. Well, he's going to be the guy who's getting the penalty. Somebody will have to serve it for him. The goalie won't go to the penalty box, but a good call by the Canadian referee.
Nothing subtle about that. Slashing the call, of course, if you're watching the sport for the first time, the goaltender doesn't go off. Someone will have to take his place. Either way, it's a penalty.
You've got a Canadian referee with a Canadian linesman and an American linesman. They will let some things go, but the obvious things like that are going to be called. Number 21, Dmitry Denisov, going to the penalty box to serve Zuyev's slashing penalty.
Keskinen drops it back, and that eludes Virta on the far post. Kiprusoff calling for it, or on the far blue line. Keskinen picks it up now. Kiprusoff leaving it off. Keskinen dumping it in. Nieminen wants it. Alatalo is there. Keskinen tries to get it back. Kiprusoff moves in and just pushes it along the boards. Sorokin gets a stick on it, but not for long. Keskinen spins around. The race is on. And Khudakov spins around, backhands it over, batted down nicely by Nieminen. The Finns try to set it up yet again. Kiprusoff. The 1-2 didn't work. Kiprusoff on his own blue line. Khudakov is shadowing him. Kiprusoff elects to get off the ice. Nieminen right out front, and Virta moved in but couldn't get the shot away. Stromberg drops way back, less than a minute on the power play as the Finns come up over the blue. Makala, look at the number of red shirts on that blue line. Nikolitin, a great job of poke checking it, dumped out over the red. Thrown in quickly by Jutala. A chance now on the backhand side. Ojanen went in and was spun around. Calling it on this side is Stromberg. He wants it. It doesn't come his way. Makala moves into the circle. The pass is still held on. Now Makala has it. Makala delivers that back to the top of the circle. Jutala's back on the blue line. Jutala lets the wrist shot go. All he's doing is directing the puck in there. He's not looking to score a goal. Nikolitin tries to get it out. Jutala is there to stop it. Ojanen back on the blue line, but that's kept in nicely by Stromberg. Ojanen moves in. Ojanen behind the net, working with Helmanen. And Nikolitin got a piece of it, and this time with no seconds on the penalty, they get it down the ice. The Russians back at full strength after that penalty to the goaltender. Jutala will flip it in and go for a break. Lehtinen shakes off one check. Lehtinen on the back, he scores!
Great effort from Lehtinen. The Russians having successfully killed off the penalty. Nikolitin doing an excellent job at that. Going to the bench for a change. Some fresh legs out there. The Russians find themselves short in their own corner. Number 20, Lehtinen, goes for a walk. He's got Varitsky beat along the boards coming out. Keeps going into the slot area. Directs a backhander past Zuyev for the first goal of this game. The Finns out in front.
A lot of traffic in front of that goaltender. The goal stands, and congratulations all round for Lehtinen. 14:59 the time of the goal. First blood to the Finns.
It was that little 5'9" Koivu around the front of the net, creating a screen in front of Zuyev.
And it really has been one-way traffic. The Finns dominating this first period. Still a long way to go in this game. Gusmanov avoids a check in there. Letter is able to get it over to the far corner, and once again the Finns get out of the zone and come down the ice. Ojanen couldn't hang on to it, but Lehtinen takes the shot. Letterer rather takes the shot, and Zuyev steers it away. Both teams very explosive just after the goal. Gusmanov races down the ice, loses the puck, and back come the Finns.
Another look at Lettinen's goal. It's a good one for the kids to watch. He just kept the legs going as he came away from the boards. He left Varitsky standing still. Varitsky trying to hack and whack at him.
He also stayed on the backhand too. A lot of kids would have turned around and possibly taken the big shot on the forehand. Kids, practice your backhand. That's what happens.
That's a good point coming from a goaltender, Paul. I like that.
I used to hate backhand shots. You never know where they're going to go. Nieminen couldn't bat that one down. Gusmanov fakes the first shot. Spends a little too long on the puck. Stromberg rattles that around the boards, and the Finns pick it up on the near side. Nieminen gives that away. Right in front, Gusmanov is there. And boy, the Finns got off lightly there. Flipped all the way down the ice. Icing is the call. Some slack defensive work from the big boys.
They haven't broken down very much, but quick lesson to be learned there. You certainly can't do it against the Russians. Gusmanov almost put the goal away where he really had no business even getting a shot off. There were three Finns back. They were just very careless in their attempt to get out of the zone.
Most teams in this competition will punish you if you make a mistake. The Finns now breaking with a 2-on-2 situation. Makala working there with 24, Sami Kapanen. And everyone goes back as the Russians come forward. Long clearance into the zone is picked up by Vinogradov. That goes over to the far corner. The Russians now, big shot. Yukatami goes down. That misses the corner. Tammy really hasn't been tested that frequently. Tertishny with Kapanen watching his moves. Tertishny. Nikolitin being shadowed there nicely by Helminen. Back in the play. Oh, this is nice. And Zuyev has lost it. Kapanen came in. Zuyev thought he had it trapped. Fell down to his right-hand side. And what was lying in the crease with that little black rubber disc?
That shot nearly got through the pads.
Verta slams on the brakes and almost scored on that one. Zuyev really being tested out there. Koivu now gets it out front. That trickles out over the blue, and a chance now for the Russians as they come down quickly. 2-on-1 situation. Big shot coming in from Varitsky. Varitsky picks it up and sends it sailing back. And that second shot misses the goal. A pile of snow right under the doorstep there of the, in front of the bench, the Finnish bench, prevented that from coming down the ice. And both teams trying to complete their changes. Peltonen got the back pass interception and then gave it away. The Russians trying to do the one touches out there, and it's not working for them. Varitsky tied up on the far side by Lehtinen. Some close checking in the neutral zone as that comes over to an open wing. Long clearance in by Laukkanen. Zuyev drops it down for Ivanov. Ivanov up on the left wing. And the Finns are there first with Koivu. Koivu lost it. Tammy gives it over to Peltonen. Alatalo trying to sidestep maneuver. Smirnov, far side. Good stuff from both teams. Nieminen couldn't get Iptyukin out of the play. Iptyukin taps it forward, and that's not a great pass as it comes over to the near side. Kiprusov hammers his man in the boards, and the Canadian official saying that was touched with a high stick. Face-off moves down the ice because the high stick was a Russian stick. Keskinen in the face-off loses out. Davidov looks around, hesitates, gets it up on the left wing, and Kiprusov will have to get back in a hurry. Kiprusov, who sounds like he should be playing for the other team, throws it up only as far as Tarasov. Tarasov has his pass bounce away, and the Finns now come back on the attack. Some good close checking with Tarasenko doing a good number on the Finns in the neutral zone, but Finland steer it right back with Nieminen to Alatalo. Alatalo got the shot away. Davidov got in front of it to steer it away. That trickles high, and Smirnov got it out of the zone as we approach the final minute of the first period.
This is the time in the period where nobody will want to give up a goal. The Finns have had the better of the play. They need to just get the puck back into Russian territory and ride out the tide through the rest of this period.
This is exactly the time when the Russians usually score. They make something out of nothing, and despite the hard work of the opposition, they're back on the scoreboard. Great move there by Lehtera to delay the puck and just prevent the offside. Laukkanen moved in, or Alatalo. Right in front, Zuyev is down. Keskinen moved in, couldn't get the shot away. Zuyev still down on the ice, eventually gets back up. Shots coming in from all angles. Keskinen, Lehtera, physical stuff from both teams. 9 seconds, shot from a sharp angle, misses and goes all the way down the ice. 3 seconds on the period, and what a finish by the Finns. Zuyev seeing shots from all angles. Tammy at the other end of the rink hardly tested at all. Either way you look at it, the fans enjoying this hockey. brilliant first period from the Finns. They lead it on a goal by Lehtinen, 1-0.
A very close game, far from over. Tikhonov is going to have a serious word with the Russians between the period.
You're watching live Olympic ice hockey on Eurosport. We'll be back in a moment. Back to live action on Eurosport. The Finns are coming out, the Russians are coming out for the start of this second period. 1-0 is the score. Lehtinen doing all the work from the corner for Finland. He brought it out past Veritsky, the backhander, at 14:59, and that's the only goal of the game, and the Finns are happy about that. A lot of Finnish support. The Norwegians are here also cheering for the Finns, as are the Swedes. There's a big Finnish contingency for the rest of the Olympic competitors. And we take a look now at Jukkatami. 7 saves in the match so far. He really hasn't been tested that much. Zuyev, on the other hand, has seen a lot of rubber.
11-7, the shots favoring the Finns. They still continue to impress. They're playing good disciplined hockey. We're sounding like broken records already. It's only day 3, but the going is early. Anything can happen. We've seen the Finns come out strong before. The Olympic Games last for a long time, and they're going to have to continue to play this way. The Russians, I still feel there's more that we're going to see from them. Their defense are big. They're offensive as well. They've got forwards that are going to start coming out of the woodwork, I think, before long, and burying the puck.
Verta for the Finns throws it off to Kiprasov. And I really think right now that the Russians need a leader. Every team needs a star, someone to get out there and take the lead. Gusmanov possibly is the man to do it. Shot comes in. 21-year-old Ravil Gusmanov, the Winnipeg Jets' 5th choice this year, as I say, could be the man to do it. But they definitely need a leader. Every team can play team hockey for so long, and I encourage that. But the thing they need out there is a man to look up to. Kapanen working well with Helminen. Kapanen trying to wrap it around. He's taken out of the play, and that's cleared past Makala, but Verta fires it right back in.
A good job by him to clear it back in as Himalainen was caught in. He had moved up as the 4th forward. The Russians could have had a quick break out of that.
Bounced off the boards into neutral ice territory, and the teams are quick to fire it in and then chase. Hämäläinen changes directions. Jutila moves up on the other side. Hämäläinen hits his own blue. Keskinen is there with him. That bobbles through. Zuyev lets it go. Jutila bangs it behind the board for Keskinen. Nieminen squeezed out of the play. And the Russians go on the defensive once again. Alatalo gets it out front. Keskinen is there, gunning for Nieminen. Nieminen tries to spin it round. Alatalo goes down. Oh, and misses the net. Keskinen picks it up, tries to get it back to Alatalo. Tartishny got the stick on to clear it out. Oh, you won't get a better chance than that.
Excellent work from Nieminen and Keskinen. Alatalo is going to see that one in his sleep. He made the right move, then just shot the puck wide.
Alatalo flips it to Keskinen, who goes to the bench. Zuyev gloves it down. Ivanov tries to set Nicolashin free. That's tipped over the blue line, and Kami will get a touch. Jutila starts up on the left side. He fans on his clearance. A little water out there on the ice, and Lehtinen comes in to help out. Excellent start from the Finns. The Finns with new coach Kurt Lindstrom, the 53-year-old betting shop proprietor, are on fire. Alatalo missing by a couple of inches.
Very close call for Alatalo. The linesman repairing a patch on the ice that's been torn up. At the other end of the ice, the Russians had an opportunity right before that whistle where the pass was fanned on by Jutila to come out of the zone. Ivanov stepped up very quickly, and it was a good defensive play by the goal scorer in this game, Lehtinen, to get his stick out and make sure that the puck went up over the benches into the crowd.
Just 2:09 gone on the second period. 1-0 the score. The Finns leading this one. Laukkanen being chased by Karpov. Laukkanen unable to get it out, but at the second attempt, Peltonen does. Back onto the defense. Shendelev calls for it on this side. Karpov moves up on the wing. Good move by Karpov, but he spun out of the play in the neutral zone, and the Russians have to try it again. Shendelev casually tips it up over the line. That's going to go back to Tammy. Tammy, not a great clearance from him. What's going on out there? Tammy hit the Russian, and that bounces nicely for Koivu. Koivu runs into Shendelev. Shendelev says, I'm not going to be able to stay with this guy, so I'm going to run him down. At Tiukhin. His pass up on the wing is a good one, but Verta got in the way of that. Verta tries to get a stick on it, and it's pushed away by Guzmanov. Davidov can't slow his man down, and eventually puts a stick out to shove the puck away. Verta was there. Lehtera was knocking at the door. The Finns are just as fast as the Russians, if not faster.
And they look very hungry. They continue to swarm all over the Russians. They're not allowing the Russians to get into their flow of play like they would like to do. They're being very aggressive. The neutral ice territory where the Russians are normally very strong, and that's where they tend to wind things up. It just isn't being given to them right now.
From the face-off, that's pushed all the way through by Ojanen, comes out to the blue line, and the Finns go deep. Coming back on the attack. Laukkanen, rather hollow. Lehtera got a piece of it. Lehtera being smothered along the boards, and the Russians now start to move up. Torgeyev with not a lot of support. Denisov now comes in. Big hit there by Tarasov. Interference the call. But the Russians are starting to get a little more physical, and that's what they're going to have to do to slow down this fast-skating Finnish team.
Referee Kevin Munch, the Canadian, hasn't had a lot of work to do. In the first period, the only penalty going to the Russian goaltender, Zuyev. Finally, the Finns have taken a minor penalty, and we'll get a look at the Russian power play. Interference to call on Mika Stromberg. The play deep in the Finnish zone. Stromberg taking his man down way away from the puck.
Face-off deep in Finnish territory, and the Finns a man down, and the Russians 0 for 4 on the power play in the competition. Sorokin being shadowed by Mikko Makala. Sorokin with Berezin. Berezin, one of the fastest skaters on the Russian team, trying to streak through. That doesn't work. Khudakov. Berezin tapped in by Smirnov. A loose puck is gently tapped down the ice, and that'll do just nicely for the Finns. Zuyev comes out. Smirnov is there with Sorokin. Pass up, and Sorokin makes a good little move. 1:20 on the power play. The Russians set it up. Khudakov moves right in front. Berezin in through the circle. That comes back as far as the blue line. Smirnov now with a chance to shoot. That's taken off his stick by Keskinen, and the Finns muscle their way into possession. Laukkanen to the far side. Keskinen, offside is the call, and the shot comes well after the whistle, and that's why Khudakov has just taken a swipe. Nieminen guilty of letting that go a couple of seconds after the whistle, and that's not the kind of thing that any team likes to see happen.
Sorokin came up very high with the stick. I'm surprised he got away with that one. And I'm surprised Nieminen sat back and watched it. He took a shot there and just let it happen. More power to him. That shows good discipline.
Face-off in neutral ice territory. The official letting things go here in the second period. 1-0 the score. The Finns leading the Russians. This is live on day 3. 40 seconds on the penalty to Stromberg. Another face-off on the play. Partishny having problems with that one. And the Russians unable to get this power play together. Puck moves out over the blue as Lehtinen took a swipe at it, and the Russians go deep and start it up again. Shargorodsky with 25 seconds on the penalty. Will pass up to Bezukladnikov. Tipped over by Nikolitin and golfed out of the zone. The Finns are enjoying this one.
The Russians have looked very unorganized on their power play. Even the opportunities they had against the Norwegians, they just don't seem to be able to set anything up.
Bezukladnikov working with Nikolitin. Took into the corner. Nikolitin now with a chance. Bounces it off the boards, gets it back to the blue. 5-on-5 situation. Nikolitin, a one-timer coming in as Nikolitin fed it over. Vinogradov moved into the corner, and the Finns are back at full strength. A little tap in, they go for a change. Shargorodsky quickly up to Nikolitin. Nikolitin headmans the puck. A long clearance in by Bezukladnikov, and the Russians now set it up right out front. Jutila quickly gets it away. No one there with a red shirt. That's unusual.
To the Finns' credit, though, they're just playing their positions. They look very confident and comfortable on the ice.
Jutila along the boards, and that goes as far as Evtyukin. And a chance now for 24. Kapanen, high shot off the plexi. Dragged down, and the Finns still have it in the zone. Kapanen goes after it. Kapanen chasing Ivanov. He spun around. Helminen with Kapanen. 24-14. Shot comes in. Kapanen got a piece of that, and the Russians now start out on the far side. Laukkanen gets a piece of that and steals it from Karpov. A big hook there by Evtyukin as that goes in the corner. Makala is in there. Kapanen back to the blue. The shot comes in. Bouncing shot from Hämäläinen. And the Russians looking disorganized out there. A wicked bounce off the backboards. Brings it right to Hämäläinen. Makala wants it. Makala puts it in the circle. A big chop by Karpov. And eventually goes out of the blue line. And Tikhonov, if we could see him, is pulling his hair out.
It's hard to tell whether Tikkanen's happy or not, Paul. He doesn't ever look very flustered by anything, but you know inside right now he's burning up.
I know a guy who's got a picture of him almost smiling.
It's probably worth a fortune.
Excellent stuff from Helminen and Kapanen. These two are buzzsaws out there, just cutting their way through that defense, providing all sorts of forechecking problems. Ojanen goes in after his man. Keskinen, Alatalo wants it, can't pick it up. Virta calling for it, that's pushed behind the net. Virta now ties his man up, and it's picked up by Sorminen. Sorminen slowly throws it out of the zone. Tarasov for the Russians wants to put it back, and his clearance isn't a great one. And the scrambling is on. Nieminen puts it up top. Zuyev comes up big. Keskinen let it fly.
Mika Nieminen having a great game so far, being the provider, fighting off the defender, pushing the puck across nicely. Good visibility by him to get that puck over to Keskinen, who walks right into a nice shot. Keskinen lets it go. A good glove save by Zuyev.
In their first game, the Russians beat the Norwegians 5-1. The Finns over the Czechs 3-1. They're both looking to continue that winning streak. Kiprusov drops it away from Gusmanov. Kiprusov on the far side now. Up to the blue, long pass up the middle. Peltonen trying to get it out front. Peltonen working in the corner, double teaming the defenseman. And they're providing all sorts of headaches, kept in nicely by Koivu. Peltonen, Koivu back to the blue, back to Koivu, but that went behind him, went into the corner. Koivu now working after it, and Sorokin picks it up for the Russians, and we're seeing some very strange scenes out there as the Russians continue to go under pressure right out front. Koivu! Upstairs, whoa! Continuous forechecking, continuous pressure has paid off.
Ask yourself why this goal happened. It was Koivu's hit along the boards that prevented the Russians from clearing the zone to begin with. This guy is showing the NHL scouts that he may be small and a good goal scorer, but he can be physical as well. He finished his checkoff nicely in front of his own bench, got himself right back into the play. Watch Koivu right here. Big hit on Sorokin. The Finnish defenseman is able to step up and keep the puck in the zone. One pass, two. There's Koivu right back into the picture, and he puts the puck away. Excellent goal for Koivu. Peltonen lays it off nicely. Zuyev beaten. Sorokin trying to get back into the play after he was belted by Koivu is never going to catch up. The Finns have a 2-goal lead.
8:59 the time of the goal. 2-0 the score. The Finns are enjoying their hockey. Coming in quickly is Nicolishin. Palo is all over him, but Nicolishin continues to fight along the boards. Nicolishin drops it back cleverly, and the Russians now come back with vengeance along the boards. Cleared out as far as the blue, and look at the physical stuff going along on the far side of the boards. Palo is in front, directed across by Stromberg, and that comes to Zuyev, and Zuyev says, "I've got it, let's sort things out."
The camera is going directly to Tikhonov. I don't know if they can hear us mentioning that he's not a happy man inside. We can't see his insides, but he's having words with every player, as he always does when they come off the ice, barking out instructions, never happy with anybody out there, whether they score or get scored on.
Well, he has reason to be unhappy at this point. His team is trailing 2-0. Helminen working hard in there, and the Russians now bring it out slowly. Back passing to Karpov. Karpov is explosive, but he really hasn't got room to move. Makala all over him like a glove. Look at the forechecking from the Finns. Where do they get the energy? Broken down nicely by Berta. He sends it to the far side. 10 minutes gone in the period. We're halfway through this game. Helminen. And the Russians really can't even stand on their skates. Shendelev went down without any pressure at all. Veritsky, the shot is high off the plexi, and I really would love to be a fly on the wall at the end of this period in the Russian dressing room. Karpov, a 1-on-3 situation. Uncharacteristic, but it's happening out there. The Russians, so well known for their playmaking, their passing, are going down and taking individual runs at the Finnish defense. Hamalainen started it up. Davidov now brings it back. Great back checking from the Finns, but the Russians escape and come through. A 3-on-2 situation. The shot comes in. Denisov got the shot away. Jutila broke it down. Alatalo drops it back. Jutila is there to take the shot. Both teams have sets of very mobile defensemen out there, and you just saw one of them, Jutila. A moment ago he was down playing goaltender. A moment later he was up trying to score a goal.
That's it, Paul. Take all my lines. That's exactly right. I was waiting to jump on that opportunity.
I can read your lips.
Jutila blocked that shot nicely and got right back into the play. The Finns coming down with 3 strong all the time, taking it right to the Russians.
Tarasov up on the wing. The name of the game here is that the Russians cannot settle. They can't get anything going. Alatalo, long pass up to the blue line. A lot of room for the Finns. Nieminen drops it back. Keskinen. Oh, it's in the net! Keskinen came up, took the shot, the rebound came out. Big goal number 3 for the Finns. This place has erupted.
I keep saying it's 3 Finns going strong. You'd only mention 2, Paul. Keskinen was in there. Alatalo getting into the play. Keskinen takes the original shot. Here comes Alatalo. He slides the rebound home after good work from Nieminen, who started it down the ice, and Keskinen, who took the original shot. First save is made, the second one isn't. The Finns are flying high and out in front, 3-0 over the Russians.
11:32, the time of goal number 3 for the Finns. And the Finns are on a mission here. They've only been able to collect 1 silver medal in the Olympics in their history, and that was back in '88 in Calgary. It's been a barren patch for the Finns, and they're going to try to change that now. And it looks like, although it's early days, Kurt Lindstrom really has put this team together. Pentti Matikainen did a great job at getting them only so far. And I do have to stress that it's early days, but these guys look like they could go all the way. Excellent team, and they're playing some great hockey now. Sorokin fed the pass through, and the Russian forwards were caught on the offside. 3-0 the score. Lehtinen, Koivu, and Alatalo.
Exactly what Zuyev sees. The first shot going off his pads. His defense struggling to get back. It's not going to be on time. Alatalo wants the puck, and he gets it.
Faced off just outside the blue line, and the Finns quickly get it out of the zone, flip it away. Pertishny, Lehtera all over him. Pertishny whistles that around to Nikolitin. Nikolitin hangs onto the puck, a great pass over to the far side. Laukkanen got the stick in and then lost it. Laukkanen tying up Zukladnikov, and you can see the commitment from the Finns. You lose the stick, you stay in the game and keep it going. Lehtera tipped it away. Palo was there, 7 minutes on the period. Pass up into neutral ice territory, and the Russians with Vinogradov trying to get something going. Nikolitin, good move, but can't get away from Laukkanen, who just caught him as he spun round.
Laukkanen excellent at stepping up. Every time he has the opportunity, he just goes right to the forward. He makes them make an error, or at least a decision as to what they're going to do.
Backhander coming from Marco Palo. That comes back to Jutila, lets the shot go. Zuyev comes up with a glove hand save. Laukkanen, when he's on the ice, no matter where you are, and in particular if it's in the neutral zone, you really got to keep your head up, because this guy loves to hit. He's just dying to see someone come at him with their heads down. Good night. It'll be over for you.
The Quebec draft choice. I'm sure their people are having a look at him to see if he's going to be another one capable of holding an NHL contract. He certainly plays the physical game well enough.
13:31 as the Russians get it back. Jutila quickly feeds it up, and you can see the understanding out there is just brilliant. Zuyev got a pad on it. The return shot took a deflection. Still not out of the zone. Now the Russians can explode. Coming up on the wing, a chance for number 16, Varitsky. Varitsky let the shot go. Ivanov tips it in. Jutila has a chance to get it out of the zone, and he does. Again, I feel that the Russians need a leader out there. They have a tendency to be floundering, no one giving them direction. Makala along the board. Shendelev stays with him. Makala. A chance now for Helminen. Helminen with a lot of space. Still Helminen. Helman and Zuyev with an easy shot. But look at the time that the Finns had to set that up. When is the last time have you seen a Russian team give an opposing team as much time around the goal? You just don't see it, or you just haven't seen it in the past, but it's happening right here live on Eurosport. The Russians are caving in under the Finnish performance.
It is still early days, though. Tikhonov, as a coach, is so capable of getting control of situations and getting the most out of his players. These guys all have a lot of talent, defensively and offensively. We haven't seen the best of the Russians. They do look very frustrated right now as the Finns are taking it right to them.
Sorminen sends it in. Keskinen is there. A lot of action in front of that net.
Accidental high stick right in front of the goal. Tarasov down in a hurry. Blood coming out of his face. He's been cut.
Whistled down, and Tarasov will make his way to the bench. Well, that doesn't look very pleasant at all.
It's around the right eye somewhere.
Let's see if we can pick this up on the slow-mo.
Tarasov dueling it out with Alatolo. Well, it appears that it was either the butt end of the stick or a thumb from Alatolo's glove. It's hard to say. Seeing that he's bleeding like it is, I'd have to assume it was a very high part of Alatolo's shaft on his stick or the butt end.
Perhaps well, I was going to say the helmet came down. Sometimes if you get hit awkwardly, the edge of that helmet can come down, but it's rounded there, and it doesn't really cut like that.
And those Jofa helmets of that style have a padding right down to the bottom as well. It really shouldn't have been his helmet.
Exactly right. I'm sure he'll be back in the action as soon as they can patch him up. Sorokin up on the left wing, and the long clearance goes all the way down the ice. Big hit there on Sormanen as that comes out to Sorokin, and the Russians unable to keep the puck in the zone. Hooking is the call.
Well, the play tough along the boards. Kevin Munch maybe feeling that he missed out on something he should have called in front of the Russian goal a minute ago. Issues a penalty now to the Finns. Hooking is the call. Keskinen, who doesn't find himself in the penalty box very often, very hard forechecking type of player that just does his job, gets a lot of shots off, is guilty of hooking on this play, and the Russians will have a power play, and they desperately need to put something into the net. They're 0 for 5 on power play opportunities so far.
Yukutami has not been tested for a long time. All the action has been against Zuyev. That could be a vital thing. 5 for 5 on penalty killing for the Finns. That's impressive. You can't get much better.
And you can't get much worse on the power play if you're 0 for 5.
Verta sees the opening and skids it all the way down to Zuyev. Berezin with Paolo watching. The pass through the middle, and that's just sloppy play. Hämäläinen says thank you very much. 1:15 on the power play. The Russians need something here. Nikolitin drops it back. Bezukladnikov bounces it off the boards. Nikolitin right in beside the net. The pass was a good one. Drops all the way back to the blue. Smirnov looking for room to move. Nikolitin, this guy can shoot from just about anywhere. Nikolitin moves in through the hash marks. All the way back to the top of the slot area. The shot comes in. Tammy's there. Loose puck in front. They're trying to kick it in, bounce it in. Bezukladnikov almost got the goal. And eventually it's cleared out, and here comes Paolo. Paolo breaking down. Paolo elects to go for it. And eventually Smirnov is all over him, brings him down and drags him down over the red line. Play continues. 28 seconds on the power play. Some good stuff here from both teams. And this time Tammy has a say in clearing the puck.
Uncharacteristically, the Russians trying to skate it through bodies to get it into the zone. They're not working together right now. The Finns taking the puck off them and sending it quickly down the other way.
Change of personnel out there as the Russians go for a break. 7 seconds on the power play. Laukkanen over into the corner. The Russians will set it up and take the shot if they can. Coming in quickly. Back on the 5-on-5 situation. Keskinen back on the ice. Long pass up the middle to Keskinen. Oh, that almost came. And Keskinen, just for good measure, slips it by Zuyev. And boy, does a goalie hate that.
Well, if you're Keskinen, why not? Tertishny comes in to let him know that it isn't cool. Big, serious, tough guy look from Tertishny. It always bothers me why guys do that while they're skating away from the player they're after. Both teams being issued an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. It looked pretty harmless to me. All Keskinen did was push the puck into the empty net.
Number 3, Sergei Tertishny, goes after him here. Look at that, a bit of a hook, a bit of a push.
I like the way Tertishny did that. He took a look around to see if The referee was watching, then he decided to give him a little jab, both players reacting to it. They'll sit for 2 minutes, have a cup of tea, and cool down.
Keskinen goes back in again. He's going to be well rested. So both teams with a man in the box, and the Russians looking for something kind of special. Big shot coming in. And that deflected away. Shendelev came out of nowhere.
Once again, I love it when I make the comment that a guy is unfamiliar to being in the penalty box. I explained to everybody in the world, Paul, that Keskinen is not a dirty player and doesn't get over there much. He's had 2 penalties back-to-back, about as many penalties as the guy's had in the last 3 years. But there you go, that's what you get for saying things.
Well, the Finnish supporters, needless to say, are enjoying this one. 3-0 the score. Lehtinen, Koivu, Alatalo have been the providers. The Russians have been unable to get it going out there. Even when they had the man advantage, they just couldn't put it together. Tammy really hasn't been tested. 2.5 minutes on the period. Jutila with a lot of time up the middle. 1:27 on the penalties. Peltonen still hanging on to that puck. Koivu dropped in behind the net by Shendelev, and Shendelev taps it forward. Palo gets back. Karpov now. Karpov tries to do it on his own, eventually throws it up to Shendelev. Long shot, easily controlled, and Tammy will like that one. It's good to feel that puck again.
The Russians still appear very frustrated. Tammy made the save, skated out of his goal, and the Russian had an extra jab at the Finnish defenseman right in front of the net. Very, very unused to seeing that out of the Russians. Tikhonov taking notes at all times.
Well, I don't know what the coach for Finland has given these guys before a game. One heck of a pep talk, a great training session, but the Finns are playing like I've never seen them play before. And I guess the big question is, are they going to blow it in the initial stages? There's a long way to go in this competition. It appears that they're going for gold now, but remember, the top 4 out of the 6 teams in each group will qualify, and they'll play off. So the top of Group A plays the 4th place team in Group B, and so on. And that's when it starts to get interesting. Puck on the edge, and here comes 13 Palo. Palo goes in hard. Palo, a great mover in the corners, unable to hold that one in, and the Finns go back in numbers with Virta bringing it up. Virta hits his own blue, comes up to the red, comes up to the blue. Virta moving with Ojanen. Ojanen is hooked and hauled. Davidov on the far side can't get a handle on it. Davidov, a big chop, still can't get a handle on it. Davidov, oh, that's in the net! Davidov missed his check all the way from the corner. Makela and Ojanen, all-star stuff.
Nifty, patient stick work from Makela, the big guy, setting the play up nicely. You were going on and on about the hacking and whacking from the Russians. It just wasn't enough, was it, though? Ojanen fighting it all off, getting himself back into position to get the puck and burying a nice goal for himself. Ojanen concentrating on that bouncing puck, beating Zuyev on the backhand. A nice assist from Makela.
You know, if you look at Davidov coming out of that corner, this guy just outskated him, out-hustled, out-maneuvered, out-muscled. The slashes didn't interfere at all with his play. Excellent stuff from Ojanen. The Finns continue to pile it on. 4-0 the score. Shot, Zuyev scores! Zuyev beaten again. Kiprusov, number 2. Oh, big smiles all around. This is becoming a rout.
The 21-year-old defenseman looking like an offensive superstar, stepping in from his defensive spot, letting a nice wrist shot go, and suddenly the crowd can't believe what they're seeing. The Russians losing 5-0 to the Finns. What a pinpointed shot just inside the post this Kiprusov let go. picked his corner, kept it low on the ice, and he buries a nice goal for himself.
1913 was the time that the goal was scored. Jutila on this side can't get to it. Nikolitin taken out of the play, pushed in quickly by Shargorodski, and that bounces nicely for the Finns, and we have a interference call on the play.
The Finns have done an excellent job of picking players off, allowing their teammates to clear the zone. This time, the Canadian referee watching it very closely around the front of the goal. Sormanen, a little bit too aggressive with his picking intentions, takes an interference penalty.
This is when the Russians need to react. They got to get something quickly. It's 5-0. They haven't been able to set it up on the power play. Tammy really hasn't been tested that much in this period, or for that matter, in the two periods. 0 for 6. That says it all.
There's 33 seconds left in the period. It'd be a nice time for the Russians to go into the dressing room with a goal if they can get one good shot off.
The Russians dearly miss Khomatov and Bykov, who play in their hockey in Switzerland, and the Swiss are continuing with their program. They're not in the Olympics, as you know, and so they figure they should keep going with league play. And so the two Russians over there are not allowed to come here. 8 seconds on the period, and what a period it's been for Finland. The Russians, I don't know why they want to see this clock tick down. I'm sure they don't want to go into the dressing room. What's this guy going to say? 5-0. It hurts for him. One of the most experienced coaches in the history of hockey has got to go in there and raise the roof. The Finns will be happy, but I'm sure they won't become complacent. They've got a lot of talent. They know how to play hockey for 60 minutes. I'm sure they're not going to sit back and relax.
Not by any means. The positioning is so important going into the next round. Tikhonov can go in and raise the roof all that he wants. On the other hand, he is being beaten right now by a team who are just totally outplaying his Russian players. They are just buzzing all over the ice. The Finns are looking good in the defense. They're clearing their zone well, and they're putting some great plays together offensively.
Tikhonov is not waiting to get into the dressing room. He's all over Vinogradov, and I'm sure Vinogradov would like to make a quick left turn and go somewhere else.
Yeah, and Vinogradov's had 2 shifts.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back. More live action coming up. Welcome back to live action on Eurosport. Finland against Russia. Finland 5, Russia 0. A very, very surprising scoreline. Zuyev has gone. Abramov is out there for the Russians. 34 years old, likes hard rock music. Heavy music, that's what he says, and a little rock and roll. At 34, can that be good for his ears? Let's see if this pace out here is good for his heart.
That's interesting. It makes you wonder if Tikhonov feels that he needs to give Abramov some experience, or if he's unhappy with the way Zuyev played. You never know what this guy thinks.
I think he possibly just wants to make a change out there to get this team going. He's trying a couple of different combinations out there, so why not change the goaltender? You can't lose the game by any more or any worse than you are doing right now, so perhaps a change will instill a little more confidence, give the guys something to feel good about. The shot. Sorokin into the corner. A big chap along the boards, and that comes in behind the net. 38 seconds on the power play. Sormanen in the box. Interference was the call, if you can remember that far back. Kiprusoff taken out of the play. And the Russians still not throwing that puck around with conviction. Kiprusoff golfs it out of the zone. Kudakov touches it right back in.
The Finns once again very quick to clear the puck. Less than 10 seconds now on Sormanen's penalty. They should be killing off another one. The Russians are going to be blanked yet again on their power play opportunity.
Sorokin started this thing up, and on the wing. The Russians guilty of showing too much of the puck. 5-on-5 out there. Sormanen steps back on the ice. A chance now for Vinogradov. He took an earwigging from coach Viktor Tikhonov, as we saw at the end of that period. He got blasted as he was walking to the dressing room. Alatalo spins in there, and I'm sure that Vinogradov is going to have the period of his life out there. The Finns, some great stuff from them as they play close in hockey. I love it when these guys just throw the puck around a couple of feet apart. Alatalo, oh, and the shot was there. Vinogradov doubles back, double team. Alatalo tried to take it off him, and the Russians come up with the puck. Bouncing it off the boards. Again, we see a fanning of the puck out there, fanning of the shot. Koivu, Alatalo. A chance now as the Russians move to the far side of the rink. Peltonen comes in and has something to say about it. Koivu picks it up. This is great stuff from the Finns from a sharp angle. Koivu tries to wrap around and takes a big chop, takes a big hit in by Tertishny. Tertishny goes after him again as that comes back. Shot right on goal. Abramov is there, and Peltonen gets pelted high up, but stays on his feet. Abramov dropped right into the deep end early on in this period, that's for sure.
The Russians have been outshot 23-9 after 2 periods of play. Karpov going back to help out in front of the goal to get number 16 Peltonen out of there as he was trying to spear that rebound home. The action is tough around the Russian goal. This Finnish team is playing very relaxed hockey. They look like they're having a good time. They're enjoying themselves. This is carried on from the way they practiced this morning. They had violin music playing, classical tunes to them, smiles on their face. They were cruising around. This is a well-coached team. These guys know what they've got to do on the ice, and they're really enjoying themselves right now.
Some excellent team play out there. Letra tried to steer it into the center. It didn't work. Palo goes back along with Virta. Virta on this side of the net. Long pass up the middle. That's good. Keskinen throws it ahead. Palo is there. Palo doesn't get the pass. Waits for it. Now he gets it. Palo takes the shot well wide of the target. That bounces to the far side of the rink. Stromberg feeds it back in the corner. Letra just let it ride, and the Russians come back in a hurry. Big hit at center ice. And the Finns are playing some good hockey as Kapanen throws his weight around. Sormanen trying to do a number out there. Stromberg comes up with a puck on the far side of the rink. Both teams trying to get a change. Tammy tips that up, and Kiprasov is there for Finland. Easy to throw it to the far side. Helminen wants it. Taken away from Stromberg. Stromberg gets a cross-check in. The officials' arms stay down, and the Russians unable to make anything of that. 1-2-3 Finns going on a 2-on situation here. 3-on-2 situation, I was trying to say. Makala was well up. This is could be dangerous. The shot right on the goal. Helminen was there. Excellent stuff from Finland. They're buzzing all around this ice. Helminen, Makala, Paolo. So impressive.
The Russians are really up against it. The pass cut off nicely right at the blue line. Helminen's behind everybody. Not the greatest angle for him. Abramov does a good job of keeping his legs together. Nicely fed through from Hämäläinen, who had just come off the bench for the Finnish team and got himself right up to the blue line in a hurry.
Helminen gets set for the face-off. 4:21 gone on the third period. 5-0 the score. If you've just joined us, this is live on Eurosport. And yes, do not adjust your sets. The Russians are losing this one 5-0 to the Finns. The Finns look strong in their first game when they beat the Czechs 3-1. The Russians did okay against Norway 5-1, but this is a different ball game. From the face-off, Keskinen, Tarasenko. Waiting for it there is Vinogradov. Vinogradov tries to move it away, and eventually it comes out over the line. Vinogradov again ties himself up with his own stick. Nieminen gets it into center ice territory. Jutila a high backhander into the corner. Tertishny along the boards. Vinogradov can't handle it. And the Russians are chasing. Up to the 5-minute mark, Utila takes his man out. Big hit there by Nicolishin. Nicolishin eventually falls against Laukkanen. Laukkanen puts the stick in. Tertishny tried to take the shot. And we have a penalty on the play. Nicolishin says, yes, yes, thank you very much.
You can hear Kevin Munch all over the ice yelling, I got white for holding. Laukkanen had stepped up and tried to hit Nicolishin. Nicolishin came off better. Laukkanen going down hard. The action continues as the puck goes away from Nicolishin. Laukkanen getting the pitchfork in there and pinning him against the boards, putting his glove over the top of the boards and holding him there. Holding the call.
He did everything but bring out the hammer and nails.
Well, he didn't brand him either. He'd done everything else. He'd rope tied him, everything. But Laukkanen will sit for 2. The Russians can try and score their first power play goal of the tournament. They're 0 for 7 right now.
Not very impressive. Nicolishin stays out there as we get set for the face-off. 1 or 2 repairs to the rink along the boards. Penalty killing, very impressive, 7 for 7. The Russians have a lot of work to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Tikhonov keeps him out on the ice after this game is over. He's the kind of guy that would do that if he could get away with it. Bezukladnikov is told to get into the face-off circle, and he gives it to Nicolishin. Nicolishin to Bezukladnikov. He drops it all the way back to the blue, and the Russians come out into neutral ice territory. Tertishny on this side collects, fakes the pass over to the far side, and brings it up. Nicolishin. The pass is not a good one to Bezukladnikov, and we're not seeing a typical Russian power play out there. We're not seeing much of anything. Vinogradov is hit hard in the corner. Verta is there. And even the Russians aren't following through on their checks. You can see they're turning away and chasing the puck. They just want to get that first goal. Nicolishin along the boards takes a hit at the hash marks. Bezukladnikov goes in with the elbow high, and the chase is on as Shargorodsky tried to keep it in. Koivu, a gentle little change of direction, sends it all the way down to Abramov. 1 minute remaining on the power play, and the whistle blows for the elbow.
Laukkanen with a minute to go on his holding call. Nicolishin is going to the box for elbowing. Nicolishin, the guy that Laukkanen was tied up with to get his penalty. Nicolishin had stayed on the ice, was out there for a long time, and he's running around the ice like a very frustrated animal right now, really getting the elbow in high. He'll go to the box. He's sitting there comfortably now, watching the rest of the play. In 1 minute, the Finns will have a power play.
Abramov gloves that down and forces the face-off. Paolo moving in quickly from the circle. Lehtinen, Koivu, Alatalo, Ojanen, and Kiprasov have provided the goals for Finland. The Russians still waiting to get on the score sheet. Karpov being hooked by Hämäläinen. Hämäläinen gets away with it. Karpov again checked away by Hämäläinen. 44 seconds on the Finnish penalty. 1:42 now on the Russian penalty. Hämäläinen. No pressure, brings it out. Now there's pressure. Hämäläinen changes direction. Varitsky was on him, so he went the other way. Good back checking from Shendelev on Lehterä. Shendelev having problems though after he stole the puck. Kiprasov moves in and takes a poke on the nose for his troubles.
Lehterä was still trying to clear the zone, offside being the reason why the whistle was blown.
A giant wave going around this building as the Finnish and the rest of the Scandinavian supporters enjoy the moment while they can. Jutila with 10 seconds on the Finnish penalty. they'll have a power play for a minute. Good little move. The shot, Abramov. Makala getting a piece of it, but it was pushed away. Kapanen in the corner. The Finns are back at full strength. Denisov, long pass, goes all the way down the ice, and the Russians will have to kill off Nikolaishin's penalty. The gold medalists from 92 are definitely struggling out there. Helmanen moves in front. The pass doesn't come his way, but it's still not out of harm's way. Helmanen now picks it up. Rink-wide pass on the backhand. Helmanen moves in. Another pass. The Finns throwing the puck around like a practice. Stromberg off the backboards. Makala moves in behind the net. Helmanen's in there. Jutila at the top. Jutila now. Jutila's got the boomer of a shot. Helmanen's there. Directs it to the side of the net. And the Finns with Makala are just playing with the Russians. Big shot comes in, and that took a rebound nicely with 4 seconds on Nikolaishin's penalty. Excellent stuff from Jutila as he got back on Torgeyev. Russians back at full strength. The high flip goes into the corner. Sorokin is there. Smirnov is with him. Alatalo not far behind. Vinogradov can only get it out into neutral ice territory. Keskinen, a little pass over. Alatalo couldn't pick it up and move with it. Vertu taken off the puck. Smirnov. The Russians, every time they touch the puck, they're surrounded. It's like the Cowboys and the Indians. Boy, the Indians are just everywhere out there. The wagon train has circled, and it's just a runaway show out there for the Finns. A long pass over to Hämäläinen. Hämäläinen flips it in. Alatalo never seems to go off the ice. Nieminen now. Nieminen gets it out front after a deflection. Sorokin says, get it out of here. Flips it high. They go for a change. Laukkanen goes deep.
Another interesting thing to watch during this game, the Finns are changing a lot quicker than the Russians are. Normally the Russians are on and off the ice every 30 seconds or so. They're staying out there longer, and the Finns look a lot fresher for it. They're changing all the time. One man on, one man off.
Hämäläinen working well with Laukkanen. Nieminen being shadowed by Gusmanov, taken out of the play, and again the Finns end up with a puck. Koivu.
Immediately, Nieminen dropped by the center red line. He goes right to the bench for a change, and Koivu's got his line out on the ice.
Intelligent stuff from the Finns, uncharacteristic from the Russians. They definitely need work. Take a look at the Group A standings. It's going to change. Finland are set to pick up another couple of points, that's for sure.
The Germans have had the Austrians and the Norwegians. We've said it before, their harder games are yet to come, but they've currently won both of their first two, so they're off to a good start.
The Germans without Gerhard Trunschka, and I think it's fair to say that they miss him. He may be in his 30s, but he's still an excellent hockey player. Decided not to play hockey for the national team this year. Still playing for his club side. And it's a pity when the guys that you like to see out there retire.
Koivu sitting in the penalty box, showing people once again that he can take a hit. He took a heck of a cross check. Munch had that one, but the retaliation is there as Koivu turns around and has a whack at his opposition.
Koivu sits for a couple. Sormanen flips it over to the far side. All the way around to the opposite side, and Shendelev lets that ride. So both teams with a man in the box. Nikolaishin, Koivu. Correction, Evtiukin and Koivu. Nikolaishin is back on the ice after his penalty. And Ojanen nicely dropping it back, but Palo couldn't hang on to it. And the Russians started up again, but look at the number of white shirts back to defend. A chance for Davidov, he drops it back. The play didn't work. Helminen goes for a skate. Helminen getting away from Tarasenko. Feeds that forward. Kiprusoff. Verta. Helminen. Helminen with room to move, and that shot took a deflection. Tarasov got in front of it. Davidov pushes the puck up along the boards, and the Russians changing quickly with Nikolishin back on the ice rather. Davidov. Tammy. He hasn't seen rubber for a while. That's pushed out too far for anyone, and the chase is on. Davidov against Helminen. Excellent stuff from the Finns. They really are catching that blue line. Makala goes in. The shot. Abramov was right there. Every time you think the puck is going to go out of that blue line, whether it's a Finn shooting it up or a Russian trying to clear it, the Finns are so quick to get it and trap it and start the play off. They really are racing towards that blue line no matter where they're coming from. They're playing heads-up hockey.
They're not sitting on their 5-goal lead. They're being aggressive, and they're coming right up into the play. They're cutting the passes off right at the blue line. They're keeping guys high so that they're covered defensively. Makala stepping into the picture quickly. Takes a shot. That's off a body and up into the crowd.
Abramov has been solid since he came in here in the third period, not conceding a goal, but we still have some time to go. Hämäläinen stays on his man. Long clearance. Abramov wants an icing call.
Evtiokin and Koivu just coming back onto the ice for their respective teams.
And that's why the goaltender put his arm off. Kudakov pushed it over, picked up by Stromberg. Stromberg fields it up to Alatalo. His backhander hits Smirnov. Smirnov puts the chop in, but Keskinen takes over. Where one finishes, the other begins. Alatalo, Keskinen. And the Russians resort to just banging it off the boards and only getting it as far as the blue. Hämäläinen does the same, and the Russians this time bring it out. Khudakov. Khudakov hits the blue line. Nothing happening there. Berezin couldn't even get a look in. Keskinen takes it over. Berezin elects to go up to Gusmanov. The Russians now again a 1-on-3 situation. And that's not the kind of hockey that will impress Coach Viktor Tikhonov. He wants to see 2, possibly 3, if not 4 guys going forward. The Finnish supporters don't like this call, do they?
It's not an overly brilliant call, I'm sorry to say. The Russians had stepped up on the Finns, just as they've been doing to the Russians at the blue line. The play came the other way. Guzmanov is involved in a 1-on-3. He's tied up with Jutila. I don't really think, in my estimation anyways, that Jutila really threw him down on the ice as hard as that looked. Jutila's got a very innocent face as well. Does he look like the kind of guy that would do that?
0 for 8. Let's see if they can crack that goose egg. Time is running out. Less than a minute. 8 for 8 is the penalty killing stats for the Finns. Very, very impressive indeed. Can they keep it going? Lehtinen watching his man way out. Koivu wrestles in the corner. The Russians want to get that quality shot on goal along the boards. Tipped out as far as the blue line. It's not out. Into the far corner. Verta goes after his man. Bezukladnikov is in there. Chagorodsky, Vinogradov. A big hit there. The Russians unable to set it up. Bezukladnikov wants the puck, can't get it, and that gets away from Tertishny. Well, what can you say about this Finnish team that we haven't already said? These guys really are something special this year. A lot of hockey to play in this competition, but they certainly are showing the world that they're contenders for gold. Intelligent hockey, great stick handling, never say die performance from the Finns. The Russians steal it back, looking to get something on the scoreboard.
They've got a lot of work to do. They're down by 5. The time is not in their favor.
Evtiokin hits the blue. Evtiokin unable to get a clear shot at goal, drops it back, that goes into the corner. This is more promising, the top of the circle, and again it's not completed. The shot just doesn't come along the boards. The Finns press them wide. Shendelev, Tammy comes out. It's been a long time, but he was sharp. Ivanov. And that's it. The penalty has been killed off. Shendelev goes deep. The Russians so frustrated. Karpov taps it over. Shendelev races to the far side to break it up. A long clearance in. Abramov let it ride. That comes almost out to the blue line. Nikolitin now unable to get forward. And Nikolitin, one of their star players, really hasn't had any room to move out there. Nikolitin follows through with a heavy check.
The Finns still dumping the puck into Russian territory, making sure that the time is not going to allow the Russians to keep penetrating their zone. The Russians are still scampering all over the ice.
4 minutes on the period. And really, as we've said a couple of times, the Russians are running out of time. And look at the way the Finns are throwing that puck around. I can remember not so long ago saying that about the Russians. Look at the way they're playing with the opposition. Yutalev tried to feed it over to Nieminen. The stick got in the way. Nikolitin, who's been out there for a long time, yet again unable to carry it through. Alatalo sets it up to Keskinen. Alatalo breaks for the net, looks to get it in front. Nieminen's there, Keskinen, Alatalo, the three of them buzzing around that goal. Jutala, the side of the net, and we have another penalty on the play. This time it's for slashing.
You can hear that slash all over the rink. That guy that I said was so innocent a few minutes ago as he got a holding penalty isn't quite painting such a picture to the crowd now, as everybody in the building could hear the slash. Jutala back in the box, the Russians back on the power play.
Isn't that the second time you've done this in this game?
I just like to give these guys the benefit of the doubt.
9 for 9. Let's see if the Russians can do it this time. I must admit, I'm really disappointed with the big red machine. They haven't impressed. They really haven't deserved to be anywhere near this Finnish team on this occasion, but I'm sure they'll come back. Tikhonov, one of the best coaches in the world, has the knack, the talent to make a team out of nothing. And these guys do have a lot of potential hockey players out there. They're just not doing it right now, or can I correct that and say they're not being allowed to do it right now?
Well, that's quite evident by the fact that Tammy has only made 11 saves in this game. How many times have you seen a Russian team ever only get 11 shots on goal? I'll give him the kiss of death, but he's working on a pretty easy shutout right now. He hasn't had a lot of great quality shots. He's come out of the net and made the save when he's had to.
Less than 3 minutes now on the game. The Russians started up once more. Good little move, and everyone goes back on the defense. 118 on the power play. Going in quickly. Vinogradov double teamed by Ojanen and Hämäläinen. All the way back to the blue. Great little move. The top of the circle. The shot comes in. That whistles off the backboards. Big spring comes out to the hash marks. Another shot goes in. Another springy puck comes off the boards. Vinogradov is hit heavily there by Stromberg.
Mika Stromberg twice during that shift looked at the referee to see if he was going to get called for something. Stromberg really throwing his weight around in front of the goal.
Stromberg feels that a third time might be unlucky, goes for a break. Excellent fast-moving hockey, and we really have been treated to a feast of excellent hockey. And it's only day 3 in the competition. The Norwegians putting on a great show I'm talking about the organizers, not necessarily the hockey team. In Jovik and Lillehammer, excellent facilities, well organized, and great spectators. 2 minutes to go on the game, 35 seconds on the power play. Jutila sitting it out, but he's not worried at all. I think the only thing that would bother him is if a puck went in while he was still in the box, and Tammy lost the shutout. A bouncing puck comes to the side of the net. Alatalo goes after his man. That comes all the way back, and the Russians set it up. The Russians from the side of the net. Moving over was Evchikhin. And Alatalo, who has played a dominant part in this victory, passes it over to Kapanen. Kapanen happy to just play with it there. Jutila steps back on the ice. Evchikhin moves up to the red line. Pass to no one at all. Tarasenko moves in against Laukkanen. Virta is there. Virta, Laukkanen, and Helmanen. Helmanen looking for the loose puck as he moves in. It wasn't there, it wasn't to be. Kiprusov back on the boards. Helmanen, again, the shadow comes from Nikolitin. Kiprusov, who picked up that 5th goal in the second period, goes for a skate. Kiprusov, excellent stuff from the defenseman. The shot on the target. Abramov drops it right in the slot area. What was he thinking? Paolo was right there. No one in a position to shoot as Denisov works hard to get it out of the zone. Jutila goes back. Jutila spun around by Nikolitin, who's still out there, and he's had some long shifts. Big pass up to Paolo. 5 seconds, and the Finns are going to celebrate like crazy. Excellent performance from Finland. A shutout. Lehtinen, Koivu, Alatalo, Ojanen, and Kiprusov. And what about Tammy? He didn't have a lot to do, but he kept the puck out of the net. A shutout in the Olympic Games. Excellent stuff from Tammy and the rest of the crew. Richard, how do you pick a man of the match for Finland on this one?
Well, I'm not normally a fan of the goalies. He did get a shutout. I'd like to give it to Tammy, but I think there were a lot of guys that worked very hard on the ice. I'm going to go with Alatalo, number 15. I think he had an outstanding game. He just never stopped working. He scored a nice goal, and he gets my man of the match award.
Helmanen also played a major part. When you look at the Russians, who do you pick there?
Well, once again, they looked very unorganized, very uncharacteristic of a Russian team, but there were a few guys that just didn't stop working. I'm going to go with Torgeyev, number 23, the guy we mentioned before the game, who is a hard worker. He probably had the best opportunity for the Russians during the game by hitting the crossbar.
Karpov, Beritsky, all very quiet out there.
They just weren't given the room. I think the Russians have got a lot of work to do, but they will do that work, and when the medal round comes around, do not ever count the Russians out of any competition.
Well, tomorrow on Eurosport, a lot more hockey. Sweden against Italy, the USA against the Slovaks, and Canada against France. The French were tough against the Americans. The French against the Canadians. They play that similar style of hockey. There's Canadians on the French team. The Canadians, although they look very, very sharp, the French play a niggly style of hockey. They clutch and grab, and they just wait for their opportunities. They're going to be tough. Not a pushover for Canada.
Well, the Canadians were very impressive in their first game, but the question mark with the Canadians is always their consistency. Will they keep it up and do it from game to game? They tend to look great one game and then very average the next. They certainly impressed over Italy by dominating that game. I would pick them to beat the French, but the French play the same style of hockey, and it's going to be a tough match.
Sweden against Italy, it should really be no contest, but the Italians not long ago drew 2-2 with the Russians in their first game of a competition. USA against the Slovaks. The Slovaks really did impress against Sweden. USA, although they outshot the French, they just couldn't put the puck in the ocean, could they? That could be their weakness. Maybe they don't have any goal scorers.
They pressed and pressed and outshot the French badly, but defensively they let the side down a few times as well. They were a little careless. They're another team that have got potential, but they've got to get their homework sorted out and on the day they can beat anybody. That's going to be interesting because the Slovaks were very impressive in their game against the Swedes.
Well, in this one, Lehtinen started things off at 14:59 in the first period, working hard from the corner, and that's really where this game was won. The Finns were all over the Russians in the corners, and they came out shooting them in this one 28-11. Koivu started off in the second period, then Alatalo, Ojanen, Kiprusov finished things off with that goal. Kiprusov came in from the blue line, had a lot of room, and again, no pressure at all from the Russians. They seem to have lost their way in this game.
They certainly played like a team that didn't have any kind of direction. We know the way that they're coached. We saw the way they practiced this morning. They're drilled, and everybody knows that. But it can happen to anyone. You can't expect any Russian team or anybody in the world to constantly dominate and win. Things do change. And the Finns are one of those teams that right now are on the rise.
Well, the Russians will play the Austrians next time out, so that should get them back into a better frame of mind, that's for sure. I have a feeling that the Austrians won't know what hit them, because probably right after this game the Russians will take to the ice and practice for a little while, but the Austrians will be there with some physical stuff, I'm sure, but they lack the ability to take them any further. Group A looks like this: Finland, Germany, the Czech Republic, Austria. That's the way it's going to end up, I'm sure. Canada, USA, Sweden, the Slovak Republic. That could turn around. The French, who knows? They may upset one or two teams. It's early days. 6 teams in each group. They each play each other once, and then the top 4 from each group go ahead. Crossover. Group A, number 1 plays Group B, number 4, crisscross, and then they go for the medals. The big medal game, as most of the games will be seen on Eurosport live. If you're tired of 10-minute highlights, stick with us. We got most of the games, full games, live on Eurosport. Well, there's confirmation yet again of the score, 5-0. We hope you enjoyed this one, because we certainly did. It was an excellent performance from Finland. Disappointing perhaps for the Russians. They really couldn't get going. Viktor Tikhonov will go back to the drawing board. A talented coach. He's got a lot of rabbits to pull out of the hat, and he'll come back with a fighting team.
Another positive note for the Finns as we take a last look at Tammy. Both goaltenders have seen action. The Finns have got 2 wins, and they've got to feel happy with the way that Mulish and Tammy are playing right now.
Well, we're going to go now. We hope you enjoyed that. From Richard Beaupre and myself, Paul Ferguson, bye for now.